Hello everyone and welcome back. We're going to talk about Jpeg versus Raw. If you don't know what these are, they're the two file types you can choose your camera to shoot in. It's very important to know because personally, I think there is actually only one option. If you've bought this course, you should be shooting on Raw every time. But let's chat about the difference between the two. So the first we're going to talk about is JPEG. J-P-E-G. Joint Photographic Experts Group. Fucking photographers and their abbreviations. Quite simply, the purpose of a JPEG is to please the photographer on taking the picture. So what they've done is configured the camera to add certain adjustments to the image on taking it. And I find it quite sneaky, to be honest, because like we've chatted before, the human eye is drawn to certain things more than others. Areas of contrast, areas of saturation, brighter, warmer colors draw the human eye more in. We're more attracted to that naturally. So what a JPEG does is decrease the file size, make it a smaller image. It doesn't capture as much details. So the camera's computing system can add these adjustments to the file. It adds contrast, it adds clarity, and adds saturation. We look at it and we go, wow, I enjoy that. And an amateur photographer would be pretty pleased with a JPEG result. The problem is those adjustments are done globally over the image, and like we've chatted before, there's parts of the frame that we don't want more clarity or we don't want more contrast, usually in the background, because we want that to be blurry and milky and smooth in a lot of images. And secondly, if we didn't want those adjustments, if we didn't want the extra saturation according to our creative process, we didn't want the extra contrast, because it's a smaller file size, means in post-processing, we have less room to edit. More edits will start to diminish detail. So for a professional who has a particular style who wants to do a lot of work in post-processing, a JPEG greatly limits how much they can do with that image in post-processing. This is where the RAW file comes in. And I would recommend this file type for both amateurs and professionals. If you have the slightest interest in creating a better image, whether you're a professional or an amateur, the RAW file is the best. And this is why. The RAW file is designed entirely to capture as much details as possible. So it's a larger file format, which some people might argue against. But these days, memory cards, SD cards, XQD cards, compact flash cards are so big that you don't really need to worry about the file size. And all those extra details have the obvious benefit of having more detail. But what it also does is it doesn't add any processing to the image. It doesn't add contrast, it doesn't add saturation. And with this bigger file format means that later on in post-processing, we have all these details to work with. So we can be as extravagant as we like with our edits. If we want to add color contrast, we can add it. And even better, if we want to add it to a particular part of the frame, we can do that in post-processing. We have a big file to work with and a lot of details to work with. So without a doubt, a RAW file is the best way to go. It might not look as pretty as a JPEG in camera, but it gives you a lot of room to work with in post-processing. And inevitably, you can create a better image with a RAW file. So stick to RAW. I hope that made sense, and I'll see you for the next one. Cheers.